is that punishment creates liars, and I said change my mind. You're welcome to try to change my mind, but I really am pretty dead set on this subject. Now, earlier this week, I did a live video about discipline, and I was relating it more to adults. Now, I'm going to talk about kids. As adults, and when we were kids, those of us, a few 30 or 40 or older, then you probably easy to get stuck in that mindset that discipline is about punishment, right? I know I was guilty of seeing it that way for a long time, but here's the thing. Punishment creates liars. Think back to when you were a kid and you got punished for something. You might have felt bad about it, and you might not have even ever done that again, right? So maybe it was effective in that way, but what happened if you continued to make mistakes? Probably lied about it, right? Probably the same way I did, and all my friends did, and everybody I knew at the time did. It taught us how to lie because our parents would tell us the same things we say as parents. If you tell me the truth, you won't be in as much trouble. And then, the thing is it's still trouble, and especially if there is punishment involved. So I'm trying to change people's outlook and the way they look at discipline and the way they teach discipline to their kids. So here's a tip. Wrap this around your head. Discipline means always doing your best. Now, when that comes to the concept of breaking the rules, it means, did you do your best to not break the rules? 1, did you know the rules? 2, did you do your best not to break them? Now, if they didn't do their best to break them, like I said, punishments create liars. Consequences teach life. So that's my big differentiation when it comes to discipline, when it comes to punishment or anything else. I don't like the word punishment. There's no punishments in my house. There are reasonable consequences for your actions. Now, for that reason, there is no such thing in my house as if you break the rules, you do 100 push-ups. If you break the rules, you do... No. People are like, you martial arts, you probably have your kid do push-ups all the time. No, I don't. We don't even do that in here. We don't even do that in here. Matter of fact, if one of my staff members is given push-ups as a punishment, that ain't gonna fly, right? And I need to know about it. Push-ups aren't a punishment. They're good for you. Instead, there needs to be consequences related to the mistake that was made, related to the rule that was made. So let's see if we can put together an example off the top of my head here. It's a common thing. Oh, here we go. Not doing what you're told, right? That's a common thing. Not doing what you're told. So let's say that you as a parent ask your child to do something. They don't do it. Ask them again, they don't do it. Tell them to do it. They still don't do it. Now it comes down to that time where a lot of parents put the foot down and pass out punishment. This is that time that I step up to my child and I say, sir, are you really doing your best to help out and be a part of this family? Or are you trying to just do your own thing over there? Let him think about that and let him answer, and we have a bit of a discussion about it. And then I give a consequence that is relative to the mistake made. So, if, say, he doesn't do something he was asked to do, wasn't listening to me or whatever because he was playing a video game or watching a movie or something like that, the consequence for not stopping to do what I asked him to do is that now he's not being punished. The consequence is that family time. The consequence is the video game is going to get turned off, and instead you're playing a board game with me. And I don't go easy, right? I never let my kid win. I never let my kid win. So that becomes the consequence. Now, that consequence doesn't seem much like a punishment, does it? He's like, well, you're playing a game. He's still going to have fun playing the game. Yeah, he's going to have fun playing the game. But guess what happens while he's playing the game with me? We're talking about discipline the entire time. We're talking about better ways to make sure that you pay attention and why it's important to go ahead and help out around the house and do what you need to do right now rather than let it sit and let it wait so that we end up having fights or arguments and people don't get along. It's important in my household. It's important to me, probably above even how it's important for a lot of people, that my family gets along at home. And that's because we don't just see each other at home. We're around each other all the time. We work together, we live together. This is a family-owned business right here. So it's important to me that my family is always able to get along. So one of the big ways I do that is how I go about teaching the concept of discipline. So try it with your kids. Wrap your head around it. Instead of thinking of discipline as punishing or thinking of discipline as whatever, right? Think of it as this: discipline. Always do your best. Now, when it comes down to a child making a mistake, a child not following the rules, something that a lot of people would normally pass out a punishment for, now you have something as a parent in your toolbox to draw off of and say, well, wait a minute. Is that showing discipline? Did you really do your best at that? Did you really do your best to be a part of the team here at home? Did you really do your best to help somebody out? Were you really being the best you could be? And that allows me to open up conversation with my son. And half the time, his consequences are related to having to listen to me talk. But other times, it's other things. Like if he does something he ain't supposed to, if I tell him not to take his shoes off and go jump on the trampoline because we fixing to leave the house, and he takes his shoes off and starts going and jumping on the trampoline, the consequence is that, because he hates wearing shoes, normally I would say I would make him go barefoot on that, but since he hates wearing shoes, I make him wear bigger shoes. And I make him put them on himself, and I make him wear bigger shoes. That's the consequence for taking his shoes off. I will pick up his shoes. I've done this. I will pick up his shoes from by the trampoline and throw them. I did that once. I picked up his shoes from the trampoline and I threw them across the yard. He looked at me, he said, "Daddy, why'd you do that?" I said, "To show you why you needed to keep your shoes on your feet. Now walk on over and get them." That was his consequence for not following the directions I gave him, right? Consequence, not punishment, right? And what's the big deal? He had to walk across 20 yards of grass, right? And honestly, like, he goes barefoot all the time. It was in no way, shape, or form a punishment. But, you know, it still got the message across, and it still made him upset. Why? He could walk across the yard. He does it barefoot all the time. Why did it make him upset? Because he normally wouldn't have had to, or he didn't think he would have had to, right? But I made him walk across, told him he was going to have to if he was going to go get his shoes so we could get going, right? So that's what I mean. Discipline. Always do your best. Think about that next time you having some struggles, you feeling a little frustrated, angry, kids aren't following the rules or whatever. Think about, instead of punishing, avoid the word punishment. Instead of punishing, ask them if they're really doing their best to help out, if they're really doing their best to follow the rules, and then you can follow up with consequences. Half the time, you'll start to realize that you don't even have to come up with the consequences, because most of the time a kid makes a mistake, they get their own consequences, because that's kind of life, right? If I make a mistake as an adult, there's consequences. No one gives me those consequences. Those consequences happen because of my actions. Same thing happens with children, y'all. And they learn a lot better through interacting with the world in the same way that we do as adults than they will through being punished and this, that, and the other when they look around. Because look, here's the thing. Kids don't think there's much difference between them and us. And in all reality, there's a lot of differences, but we have a lot in common. Think about this, right? I heard a kid talk about this the other day on the internet. He was talking about, I can't remember his name, or I give him credit. He was talking about getting in trouble for not answering the phone when his teacher called over his bad grades, and he got in trouble for not answering the phone. Now, and then he got punished for that. But let's think about this for just a second, right? If bill collector calls, how many of y'all out there are probably not answering the phone? Now, there's consequences not answering the phone when the bill collector's call, just like there's consequences not answering the phone when the teacher called, right? Because that teacher call, consequence is they probably done sent notes home with you and stuff by this point. So the consequence is getting found out that you lied, didn't bring them notes home. So the consequence becomes that you got to sit there and listen to your parents for an hour, talk about, like, if I was me, I don't have to deal with that. I do Epic. But if it was me, I'd probably literally just have them doing schoolwork all night and not you know, have them sit down and let them get up and play some, but mostly have them focused on doing math or worksheets or something is what I would generally do for lying to me about it, right? But if you're always punishing, all you're doing is creating better liars. If you're always punishing, you're just going to teach them that it's not okay to talk to you, and you're going to teach them not to trust you if you keep saying things like, if you're honest, it won't be as bad on you, right? Now, maybe you don't give as bad a punishment or whatever when they're honest about it, but what you're really telling them is that there's going to be a punishment anyway. So you're trying to essentially end up basically teaching them how to lie better, right? Sorry, guys. I was like a live video and I totally got thrown off. Hi, Hunter. One of our guys walking by, real sweaty right now. You want to say hi?
I'm not sweaty.
You're not. You are sweaty. You're very sweaty. That's good. It's working. Hey, what's discipline mean, Hunter? Doing your best. So do you think of discipline as being punished? No? Because the thing is right, like there's consequences to actions. But let's say that I punished you in here. Let's say every time you made a mistake in here, I punished you, made you do 20 push-ups. Would that stop you from making mistakes, or would it just make you better at hiding them from me and lying to me? Exactly, right? That's the whole point I'm trying to make on this video. Heard it from the horse's mouth. Now I'm gonna jump off here. Till I see you again, be the best teammate you can be.